Coming back to you, Sushilji, and like you've worked closely with Mr. Birla, who's the chairman of Aditya Birla Group as well, and you also mentioned about the experiences. So, what are some things you have learned from him? And if you can also talk about the experiences that you were mentioning, you'll be very grateful.
Very simple. I think, uh, again, I'm talking of little early part of my career. Those days, I would also say that our group is known for governance, ethical practice, and some of those stuff. And my early days of career, I don't think the word governance was coined those days. And again, I was in as with Mr. Adi Birla early part of my career, maybe 4 5 days or 7 days in his office, and I was there with him for few of my important issues to be cleared. And I saw he was talking to his father, Mr. B.K. Birla, and Nilesh Bhai talked about there is a company called Indian Rayon, which then got converted into Adit Birla Nuvo because we added more newer businesses. So Adit Birla, the Indian Rayon used to buy a pulp product from Century Textile, and Century was managed, owned by Mr. B.K. Birla, and Adit and Indian Rayon was part of ABG, which is Adit Birla's company. And I saw a little surprisingly they both were negotiating on that pulp which Indian Rayon will buy from Century Textile, and I was amazed. I said, "What the hell is going on, father son? They are really kind of negotiating so hard." So after 15 20 minutes of discussion, when he kept his phone down, in my own way, I asked him this question. I said, "There are too many important issues lying, and why were you kind of haggling with your father?" I didn't exactly use that word, but in some form, I asked that question to him. And he said, "You are right, Shushil." And he went back to his chair like this and he said, "But we are both doing our part of job. He's responsible for separate set of shareholder. I'm responsible for separate set of shareholder." To me, governance word was not coined in the country. And look at the arm's length. Look at the related party transition which we are talking today. But that's the lesson which I learned early part of my career in 1990. To me, I can't forget that. And today, despite anything, some of these lessons actually comes very handy. If there are any confusion, I go back and see where the benefits, who's the beneficiary, and we have to make sure is it passed the headline test. And that's another favorite of mine when I say headline test, because headlines test any decision which you have taken. You should be in a position to get up in front of thousands of people and say, "Okay, yes, I did that," because that will show the courage at your end, and make sure that you can get up in front of large gathering when you can own that. So the headline test is another piece which I've learned during this early part of my career. Another thing which he taught me was, "Shushi, likh lo." Likh lo in the sense that when you are chatting, and if you have some suggestion, he says, "Shushi, likh lo." I used to get very irritated, frustrated, but the fact remains, the idea was when you start writing, you clean up your thoughts. Because you have some suggestion, you have some thought, and you want to kind of explain that thought, but you have not written fully. So when you start writing, you clean up the thoughts. You put in taxation angle, you put in a company laws angle, and today's world you will put in possibly related party angle, what the SEBI will look at, how the stock exchange will look at, what the minority will look at. So when you start writing, the thoughts becomes clearer. So likh lo was something which I learned, and I think it goes very handy to me. And I think another piece of learning which I had with Mr. Current Chairman, Mr. Kumar Birla, I think again when he joined in 95, late 95, and possibly it was few months later, there is one advice, legal advice, which I took from then the law, very highly known law firm was Mullah and Mullah, and they were our solicitors at a group level in many companies. And that advice, legal advice, actually kind of involved one of our listed company and one of our private company, which belongs to promoter. And if I remember, don't exactly remember, but it was 15 20,000 crores, 15 20,000 rupees advisory the bill which he had raised on us, and the bill was raised on the name of listed company. And since I took that advice, the bill came to me, and I was also not very sure should I send it to the listed company, and which is where I put a yellow stick and sent it to chairman saying ke, for your advice, something on those lines. And for many weeks that note will not come down. And so one of those Saturdays when we were cleaning up our lots of old issues, and it was there on my pending list, and I asked Mr. Birla, I said, okay, there is one note which I had sent you. So he said, okay, yeah, Sushil, I also wanted to talk to you. What is that note all about? What is this opinion which you took? And then I explained a bit, or rather, before I could explain him, he asked me a question, okay, who is the bigger beneficiary of that opinion? And I remember I just pulled out that paper from the table and I said, okay, I got my answer. So the message is, again, from a governance perspective and from a related party, who the beneficiaries are. So in my life, I don't get into problems on related party and who is the beneficiary, because some of these arm's length, all of those have been in my system early part of my career. So you get, and those are nuances. Because 15,000-20,000 rupees is neither here and there. The message, then he added one line, he said, Sushil, आपके ऑफिस से पेपर जाएगा, वो तो पेमेंट तो कर देंगे, but what message are you sending? Because that guy also understand कि opinion तो ली है, who got the larger benefit out of that opinion. So I think some of those nuances actually kind of helps you when you build your career. And again, in some form or other, this whole discipline issue, and I want to kind of quote slightly different example. And maybe I don't know whether Nilesh bhai can relate completely. During this COVID period, Sundarkand, is part of Ramayana, and this part is where Hanumanji is going to find out about where is Sita and all of that, and he actually eventually found out where is she, and he wants to he comes back. And he comes back and reports to, and he used to report to Sugriv. So he comes and tells Sugriv, although he has done such a extraordinary work, he could have straight gone to Lord Rama, but he goes to Sugriv. कि मैंने ऐसे पता लगा लिया यहाँ है वो है, and then Sugriv takes him to Jamvanji, because Sugriv के boss Jamvanji हैं, and then Jamvanji takes both of them and goes to Lord Ram. So the message we want to leave, there are organizational discipline. One has to kind of make sure that you are following the hierarchy of organization, because sometimes you get carried away because you have done such a great job, and in your anxiety you want to kind of jump around and go and let people know, but you don't need to forget your hierarchy. So make sure that when you learn and remain in the organization, you kind of maintain those kind of discipline. And before I end on this topic, I think there's another related question, and I was referring earlier, okay, speak up. If there is something going wrong, and you should have a courage to kind of speak up. And those who do not speak up, there are another reference which I learned again from that same Sundarkand, where when Lord Rama comes to other part of the Lanka, and they were about to kind of go to Lanka, and Ravan was sitting with his team, and he got to know that the Sena has come on the other part. So he asked his so-called mantris and Guru Ved and all of that, कि भाई वो लोग आ गए हैं, क्या करना चाहिए? So the response from his advisors were, नहीं आपने तो बड़े बड़े देवताओं and असुरों को मारा हुआ है, तो ये वानर वगैरह और मनुष्य तो मतलब आपके सामने कुछ नहीं है. So you don't need to do anything. The message here is that, one, you don't undermine the competition, and second, don't do or don't speak what your boss likes. The fact remains that they knew the other side was equally powerful, but Ravan would not like that. So his advisor is not telling him the truth कि वो लोग equally smart है, capable है. So two messages.
Right.
So you have to speak up of what is right. And they didn't say that. and that ends, that conclusion of that para is कि wherever गुरु, वैद्य एंड मंत्री, ये तीन बड़े अपने लाइफ के अंदर इंपॉर्टेंट लोग होते हैं, अगर वो राइट चीज़ नहीं बोलते हैं, डॉक्टर है, अपने को बड़ी बीमारी हो गई है, इफ़ ही डजंट टेल अस, वी विल रिमेन इन डार्क. मेरा मंत्री मतलब मेरा एडवाइज़र है, और गुरु मेरा मतलब जो गुरु है, तो अगर वो मेरे को राइट चीज़ नहीं बताएंगे तो मैं गलत काम करता रहूँगा. सो आई थिंक द मैसेज इज कि दीज पीपल हैव टू स्पीक अप and give the right messaging. So I'll kind of stop here for a minute and I think, yeah.
So like one of the best answers. I mean, I am charged up myself after listening to these examples. I'm sure you would be like charged up after listening to this.
True.
But very, very nice examples, and thank you so much for sharing all these in detail. If you learned something new from this video, do share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel so that we can bring you the best content possible. Also, if you want to watch this entire episode, click on the link in the description box and you can go to Kushal Lodha YouTube channel and watch the entire podcast episode. Thank you so much for watching this and have an amazing day.